Coming up on WFT's First at 5, displaced Florida voters in certain counties have new places to vote.
And in Bradford County, business owners band together to help with hurricane relief for residents suffering from the storm's aftermath.
Plus, Gainesville students keep a close eye on their scooters in the light of increased theft. First at 5 starts right now.
First at 5, from the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
We continue to see how Hurricane Helene has impacted cities along the Big Bend and coastal cities near us. This is WFT's First at 5. I'm Alexis Vivanco.
And I'm Nicole Borman. Helene changed a lot of people's lives, including their plans to vote in November. WUFT's Isabel Greiner joins us live in the studio to tell us more.
October 7 marks the last day for voter registration. Counties nearby continue to work on ways to get voters to the polls despite the impact of Hurricane Helene. Governor Ron DeSantis announced that the upcoming election will not be disrupted by the hurricane. He allowed supervisors of election to establish alternative voting sites in the counties affected by Helene, such as Levy, Dixie, Taylor, Lee, Pinellas, and more, if sites are left inoperable by the storm. While Alachua County has not made aware of any plans to assist, the county director of communications in the supervisors of election office, Aaron Klein, says they are ready to assist with any efforts if needed, but urges voters to use this time to make a plan.
Opportunity to make a plan to vote ahead of time, because as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, really dramatic things can happen in Florida, especially with the weather.
Voters can change their information at any point before the election, but Klein encourages you to do so as soon as possible to avoid any issues with poll locations. Displaced voters can also request mail-in ballots before the new location by October 24th. Live in the studio, Isabel Greiner, WUFT News.
As you can see on our DAT camera from Paynes Prairie, the skies are starting to turn gray as clouds begin to roll on in. But no worries, our weather team says that there will be a low chance of rain ruining your weekend. WUFT's Gancarz-Davies joins us now with the weather forecast.
Yes, we are expecting to have a fairly dry weekend here in Gainesville. We have a couple isolated showers that are going to be making their way through over the next hour or so, but after that, your evening and weekend should be fairly dry. We see the clouds that you saw over Paynes Prairie also above on our campus cam, and current temperatures are in the mid-80s, but feel like they're in the lower 90s. We have a lot of moist air that is making those temperatures feel a bit wetter than they otherwise may have felt. Current temperatures along the coast are just a couple of degrees lower than they are here in central Florida, and we have a bit of an inverted pattern for the lows tonight. Here in central Florida, they are in those lower 70s, but along the coast in St. Augustine, they're going to be in those mid to upper 70s, a little bit warmer due to that inflection from the water. Coming up, I'll let you know how the system brewing in the Gulf may be affecting your football forecast this weekend.
A Bradford County pest control company is hosting a donation drive for those affected by Hurricane Helene. WFT's Nicole visited the community to explore how it's rallying behind the cause.
When Frank Sheffield isn't fighting off bugs, he's giving back to his community. 24 years ago, when he started his business here in Bradford County, he never imagined he'd be using it for hurricane recovery.
The owner of Sheffield Pest Control is now trying to do everything he can for his neighbors in Taylor County.
These people have lost everything they have, everything they work for.
Frank owns a home in Steinhatchee. He's seen the destruction firsthand. He also has friends and family in Taylor County who are picking up the pieces after Hurricane Helene. His reason for helping is simple.
It's just because you have a heart.
Frank and his staff received dozens of donations. Sheffield Pest Control receptionist Neva Manning is the heart of this donation drive. She answered phone calls from worried donors looking to contribute. It made her realize how urgent the circumstances are for Taylor County residents.
They don't know what to do next or where to go because there is no place to go. And it's overwhelming, just as me as an individual, to think of anybody being in that situation.
Frank left for Taylor County this afternoon to deliver the much-needed supplies. In Bradford County, Nicole Beltran, WUFT News.
The day before Hurricane Helene, I visited Cedar Key to report on the evacuation order Levy County put in place. 1 week later, I went back to the exact same spots to see what was still left of the town. Here's comparisons of the sites before and after the storm. Many people have lost their homes and businesses, while others are still without water and power. The flooding reached around 5 feet higher than it did during Hurricane Idalia, which hit Cedar Key only 13 months ago. Even though this isn't their first storm, many residents did not anticipate the extent of Helene's destruction.
Helene is just 2.5 times as much water, and knocked out these beautiful old windows. Thankfully, I was smart enough to move all of my equipment out, but like the water damage and air conditioner units destroyed.
Officials and residents are asking for volunteers to come help up, clean up debris, get essential items to residents, and tend to those who may be injured.
Suwannee County's hurricane relief efforts have proven mostly successful, with the county reporting more than 99% of residents having electricity again. The county sheriff's office wants you to be aware that two points of distribution sites will be closing in Hatch Park and Wellborn Community Center today at 6 p.m. These sites contain bathrooms, showers, and laundry facilities. Ensure that you have what you need from these distribution points before they're shut down. Additionally, FEMA Disaster Survivor Assistance will be making its way around Dowling Park, going door to door to assist residents who need individual assistance with hurricane recovery.
Those feeling the impact of Hurricane Helene are getting some relief with FEMA's opening of a new disaster recovery center in Gilchrist County. The Disaster Recovery Center is located at Fire Station 2 and will be open Monday through Sunday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. The facility will offer one-on-one services to assist local residents that faced property damage or injury as a result of the storm. If you need any additional assistance, officials say to call the FEMA hotline and to apply for disaster relief.
Cleanup efforts are underway in Alachua County after Hurricane Helene. Storm debris haulers will be picking up all sorts of debris starting next week. Officials say this even includes small items in brown paper bags. The regular haulers will pick up small items in reusable plastic containers as well. They'll be starting in the hardest hit areas in the county, and you will be notified through the county's emergency notification system when pickup starts in your area. You can also grab a tarp to use as covering for any damage caused by the storm. The Florida Division of Emergency Management is providing Alachua County with tarps to help anyone still struggling with debris after the storm. Residents are allowed to grab 2 tarps at most. More locations are opening up, and each site will have different times, so make sure to check alachuacounty.com to stay up to date.
2 patients in Alachua County are in the hospital after a car accident on U.S. Highway 441. Fire rescue rushed over to the scene last night to discover a single car flipped over on the side of the road. 5 rescue vehicles were called in to flip the vehicle over just enough to get the driver and passenger out. Officials report both made it out of the car with minor injuries. Coming up on First at 5, Levy County's school shooting threats have proven costly for local law enforcement.
And UF Police Department is informing students on how to fight back against the rise in student property theft.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
According to the UF Police Department, in just the last 2 weeks, there's been a spike in the number of electric scooter thefts. WFT's Juan Carlos Chowie is live in front of the police department. And JC, according to these reports, most of the thefts have been on campus.
That's right. The university released its annual crime report earlier this week. It shows in 2021 there were only 25 cases of motor vehicle theft, whereas in 2023 there were 110, 81 of which have to do with e-bikes and e-scooters.
An empty bike rack, nothing but a lock left behind. The sight Brooke Tuttle saw just 10 minutes before her class, which was over half a mile away.
On Monday, I woke up at 8:15 for my 8:30 class, and then I walked out at like 8:20, 8:25, and my scooter was no longer on the bike rack.
Ever since then, she's walked the distance.
Without my scooter, it takes me about 20 minutes to walk.
Tuttle isn't alone. Florida data shows over 20 motor vehicle theft reports in the past 2 weeks, mostly e-scooters or e-bikes stolen on campus. Support Service Captain Trevor Henderson has seen many of these kinds of thefts in his 9.5 years at UFPD.
Campus is very safe, but these have always been a bigger concern because anybody can just walk in. There's no gate around us, a fence around us, so you can walk in and steal these items, especially if they're not secured correctly.
He says the police department vows to do all it can to keep up.
We spend a huge part of our time with the concern in trying to combat these thefts. We have officers patrolling, spending extra time near bike racks.
UF Public Safety also released a timely warning Tuesday, letting students know about the danger. Aaron Gupta is a student who depends on his scooter.
I depend on it to get to all my classes on time, so if I lose it, then that's a big chunk of money and time that I'm losing out on.
Which is why he's very cautious.
I always make sure to double or triple wrap it around the bike rack with my scooter just to make sure that it doesn't get cut.
A method Henderson says unfortunately isn't foolproof.
Henderson says the best way to insure your property, whether it's a scooter, a bike, a cell phone, anything, is to get it registered with UPD. As you can see, they have the sign right here behind me. He also says he's working closely with the student government president on a system that they think is going to lower the amount of thefts that we're seeing on campus. Live from UPD, Juan Carlos Chowie, WUFT News.
Levy County Sheriff's Office estimates more than $5,000 has been spent investigating school shooting threats already this school year. Since school started on August 12th, LCSO reports they've received 4 or 5 shooting threats. The office has spent between $5,000 and $15,000 investigating these threats. So far, no arrests have been made in Levy County for the threats, but investigators say they believe this is part of a larger nationwide trend. Our very own Eastside High School just earned platinum status in the National 2024 AP Honor Roll. Platinum is the highest level a school can receive. Buchol, GHS, and SFHS also made the honor roll this year. Parents can rest assured knowing Alachua County students are doing great and teachers are working hard to educate this youth.
And how a system brewing in the Gulf could impact Florida weather over the next week after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Looking behind me at the radar for our region, you can see we do have some scattered storms coming through right now, mainly in Marion County. So here in Gainesville, it's likely to be a little bit more dry if you're planning on going on a walk anytime soon. Looking at our campus cam, we do have clouds in the sky that has a lot of that moisture that could turn into rain. Current temperatures are in those mid 80s, but it feels even warmer in those lower 90s. This is a trend we're seeing pretty much across the board as we have that summer moisture in the air. Our hour by hour for this evening has temperatures taking a dip after sunset, continuing to go down to those lower 70s in those early morning hours, which we will see tomorrow morning until they quickly rise up to the mid 80s as you're starting to tailgate for the UF versus UCF football game here in the Swamp. Temperatures will take a slight dip before kickoff till they're in those mid to upper 70s, but again, they are going to be feeling just a bit hotter because we do have very high moisture levels. On Saturday, hitting our 74 on our muggy meter. Again, you can see those rain chances down there. We'll have some scattered showers coming in throughout the week, but the bulk of the rain for Florida is going to be in the southern portion of the peninsula, not so much here in Gainesville, where we're only going to be hitting 0.5 inches. Now, what is funding this rain is we have a low pressure system in the Gulf that has about a 50% chance of turning into a tropical storm itself, and if it reaches that, then it will be named. But for now, we just have a lot of that moisture in the Gulf. This cold front that's coming through is going to surprisingly hinder that moisture from turning into rain here in Gainesville, but that circulation will affect the lower part of the peninsula, hitting their bulk of the rain this Sunday. While here in Gainesville, we only have very light, maybe scattered showers. Continuing that pattern for the rest of the week, you can see it clearing out for us up here in north central Florida while continuing to strengthen down south. By next weekend, though, those rains will be moving out of the way for pretty much the entire peninsula of Florida. Continuing to look at what is going on in the tropics, we do have 2 named storms, Kirk and Leslie. So if that development in the Gulf were to become named, it would be Milton, following that trend with the next letter M. Looking at our 7-day outlook, you can see temperatures this weekend taking a bit of a dip after Sunday as we have that cold front coming through, but those rain chances throughout the week are going to be consistent but scattered. So there won't be too much rain, but there is still the possibility of getting a little wet on your commute to work. Temperatures for the lows are going to remain just about 70 degrees throughout the week.
Coming up in sports, high school football is in full swing. There are 2 matchups tonight that you won't want to miss. And then get the latest from head coach Billy Napier before the Florida Gators face off against in-state rival UCF back in the Swamp.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Lauren Halpern. This weekend's high school football lineup is stacked, but our game of the week features Santa Fe at Newberry High School. Get the inside scoop and what this game means for the Panthers from WUFT's Daniel Haviv.
Newberry High School football is holding their homecoming game tonight against rival Santa Fe. Newberry looks to make it 3 wins in a row, while Santa Fe is still searching for their first win on the season.
The Panthers are building off a 9-3 season where they lost in the regional semis.
The team understands the implications of tonight's game in potentially returning to the playoffs.
Biggest thing is a district game, so it's important for our playoff aspirations. And then on top of that, it's a rivalry game. So we're really close to each other. It's a rivalry game that goes back decades.
No matter the opposing team's record, Newberry won't let down as they know what's to come for the rest of the season.
Even though it's homecoming, we got to take care of business. We got to prepare for the big game next week, Bradford game. So this going to be like a little statement we need to make before the Bradford game.
It'll be the first of 3 straight home games for the Panthers. Tonight's matchup is set to kick off at 7:30 from Newberry. Reporting in the studio, Daniel Haviv, WUFT Sports.
Friday Night Lights don't stop there. 2 of Gainesville's top teams prepare to face each other tonight. WUFT's Emilio Boutros is live at Citizens Field with more.
The high school football season is in full effect. On deck tonight, Buchholz High School is gearing up for a high-octane matchup versus Gainesville High. Buchholz started off their season off strong, winning the first 3, but after that it's been a downhill turn as they've lost their last 3 games. It's the opposite for Gainesville High School as they start their season on a roll with a current record of 4-1. Leading the Hurricanes is tailback Devin Johnson, who is averaging 123 yards on the ground and has hit pay dirt 7 times. Buchholz QB Trace Johnson has had a great year so far, throwing for 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns. This game is set to be a good and exciting matchup as both teams are priming to become major players in the playoff push. Live from Citizens Field, Emilio Boutros, WFT Sports.
Moving into the weekend, the Florida football team is set to face a challenge against the UCF Knights tomorrow night. The question here is whether the Gators can take momentum from their win against Mississippi State to secure another victory under Billy Napier. WUFT's Miguel Molina has the preview.
Florida versus UCF goes beyond their in-state rivalry. For the Gators, they are coming off a win against Mississippi State, which snapped a 5-game conference losing streak. But a win in Starkville is not going to cut it for Florida head coach Billy Napier, as he's been on the hot seat recently with reports that some boosters have gathered the money to buy out the rest of his contract. In trying to turn the tide, Napier had his team practice during their bye week, including last Thursday, the same day that the university canceled classes due to Hurricane Helene. But the Florida coach made it clear on Monday that this extensive effort to improve paid off.
I do think our football team got better. We had 3 really good practices, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I think the staff and the players did a great job competing.
Florida's not the only team with something to prove. UCF was heavily favored over Colorado in their game last week, but Coach Deion Sanders had all the answers for the Knights' high-powered rushing attack, only giving up 177 yards. Kickoff between Florida and UCF is set for 7:45 p.m. Miguel Molina, WUFT News.
Despite only gaining 177 yards on the ground last week, UCF is still ranked 2nd in the nation in rushing, averaging 326 yards per game. A key to the game might be stopping 6'6" quarterback KJ Jefferson, who last year with Arkansas accounted for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Gators. This is the 4th time the 2 teams have met. Last time was in the 2021 Gasparilla Bowl when the Gators fell 29-17. Gator fans get the chance to see Texas for the first time this weekend twice. Florida soccer will take on the Longhorns tonight, while volleyball will get its chance on Sunday. Gator soccer looks to secure its first win in the SEC, while volleyball looks to break its even 1-1 league record. To wrap up sports, your Sunday football stack should be electric as the Dolphins hit the road to New England, and the Jags will host the Coats at Everbank.
Well, another electrifying report as always, Lauren. And to be honest with you guys, hopefully all of our NFL Florida teams can get the win this weekend. But I can't say the same for college football, though.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. UCF's gonna have to go down this Saturday. This Sunshine State Showdown is gonna be insane. And speaking of sunshine, should I have to worry about bringing my poncho out on the game on Saturday?
Well, hopefully for the game it should be dry. But early in the day, if you are planning on tailgating, you might want to bring that poncho, Nicole. Luckily for the game, it's going to be dry, but for the rest of the week, we're going to be expecting some isolated showers that are going to be moving through our area as there is that system in the Gulf. For us, it'll be moderate, but for Southern Florida, it's going to be a bit more intense.
Well, thank you for joining us as a whole. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and on all of our social media platforms. Have a good night.